I'm Máire Zepf, an author for children and young people, and I've written 11 books, mostly for the tiniest little people, about things like aliens and dragons and robots and witches and all sorts of kiddie stuff. So with this book, Nóinín, I set myself a completely new challenge. In fact, it was kind of like a triple challenge because the first thing was to write for young adults for the first time ever for me. The second thing was to take on a really dark and difficult theme and to throw myself into that because the subject of this book is online grooming. And then the third challenge was that it's all written in verse. So it's what we call a verse novel. So the reason I wanted to write in verse was partly just because I was enjoying reading other people's verse novels so much. I don't know if you've ever read a novel in verse before. If you haven't, you're in for a treat. I can recommend authors to you that I really enjoy, like Sarah Crossan, like Kwame Alexander, like Meg Grehan, and Dean Atta, to mention but a few. But there's something I love about reading a verse novel, where it's like somebody else's thoughts leaping directly into your brain. And there's also something in the way that poetry zooms into one thought or one moment or one little piece of action. And then in a verse novel, it's like a series of these moments all strung together with really beautiful language. So I was enjoying reading them so much that I thought I'd take on the challenge of writing one myself. So as I said, I chose a really tough subject in writing about online grooming. This is definitely not a tell you what to do book because I really hate those. It was more a matter of trying to take something that I don't know the answers to, something that's frightening to me, and to tease it out a little bit and see what questions bubble up about trust and blame and freedom and guilt and all of these sort of big questions. I'm going to read you a little bit from the start. The book, Nóinín, is written in Irish. I'm going to read you a translation today. But just to show you, for anyone there who has never read a novel in verse before, just to show you what the kind of layout looks like. So they're poems, and you can see the shape, from the shape, that there's a lot of variation in the text. There's a lot of space. There's very few words in a sense. It's very pared down, which is something that I really enjoy when I'm reading it. So I'm going to read you from the start. As I say, I'm going to read you the translation of it. So the first poem or chapter, depending on how you want to look at it, is called Calín sa Scahan, which means girl in the mirror. And I should tell you actually before I start that Nóinín, the name of the book, is also the name of the main character. And Nóinín means Daisy, so this is her name. I am Nóinín, as common as daisies. I'd like to be brave, brash, bonkers. I'd love to be flaxen, ferocious, feral, or devilish, daring, dangerous. But I'm not. 15 years old and as common as daisies. And I'm going to go on into the next one. That's already a chapter, or a poem, if you like to think of it like that. The second one is called Ní Mailim an Scáil, I don't like school. According to the science teacher, everything on earth is made of atoms. Metal, wood, plants, all the same. Even ourselves, made of teeny tiny invisible atoms. But she's wrong. At school, everything is made of rules, especially the teachers. Take Mrs. O'Rourke, the year head, for example. If she cut herself, bleeding painfully, she would drip rules, not blood. She opens her mouth and out shoot complaints, threats, orders. Don't wear your skirt like that. Don't walk there. Don't wear makeup. Don't talk to me like that. Don't run. Don't leave your bag there. Don't. Don't bother, says Emer. As long as I have Emer, everything's okay. Okay, so I've told you a little bit about reading verse poetry and why I really love that, but I have to say the experience of writing it, which felt like such a challenge at the start, was a really fantastic one for me. Very often when you're writing, you're thinking about the meaning, and in poetry, obviously, you're also thinking about the sounds of the language. But in this kind of free verse style, it's like there's a third dimension. You're kind of sculpting it a little bit as well, so you can think about the shape on the page. And I found that a really fun thing to do. So I thought, since we're talking about challenges, that I would set a challenge for you, a writing challenge, to write me a poem, or to write us a poem, and maybe share it with us if you like, although you don't have to. And to do it about something ordinary, because there's a wonderful thing in poetry where you can take something really, really ordinary, but look at it a bit closer and question it a little bit more, find out what it has to tell you. So I'm going to read you one last part of Nóinín, and then I'm going to set you your challenge. So it's a poem or a chapter called KPMG, and even if you don't speak a lot of Irish, you might already know what that means. So, a cup of tea. Knock, knock on my bedroom door. Mum, tea in hand for me. A cup that says, "Welcome home from school," and "Is everything all right?" and "I'd like to check you're not on your phone instead of doing your homework." So that's it. It's a very short poem. As you can see in this style, it can be as short or as long as you wish. So I want you to now go and write a tea poem for me. It can be a descriptive piece if you wish, or it could be something where the tea is maybe symbolic of a time or a place or even a person. You could have a think about maybe a memory you have of a particular cup of tea that evokes certain memories. Or you can just use it as an excuse to talk about growing up, or boredom, or your thoughts on global economics. I really don't mind. It's entirely open, but tea is our prompt, and tea poems. So I hope you enjoy the writing. And if you haven't read any verse novels, go and find some. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.